All right, Tal, I'm going to pass it off to you.
Sounds good. Thanks. Yeah, let me share the presentation as well. All right. Are you seeing my screen?
Yep.
All right. So we have a couple of product updates. So first, I wanted to announce that as part of, so we're doing a big release. We did a big release for Fluent, the Fluent method of configuring data sources. We're going to talk a lot more about that soon and do a demo of that soon. And these represent a major improvement to the ease with which you can configure a data source. And so to reflect this, we bumped our version, the version of Great Expectations to version 16, 0.16. So this is super exciting. It also means that code that was deprecated in version 13 or earlier will be removed. So this will include the V2 API. If you currently rely on the V2 API, we strongly encourage you to upgrade to Fluent data sources, and you'll see we've made it really easy to do so. Until you can do that, you can always pin your version of Great Expectations. And we'll be including everything that's being removed with each release in the release notes each week. So what is the Fluent method of configuring data sources? We've demoed this in the past. We've done a whole lot of work on this. So I just wanted to remind you like what this is all about. And so the idea is that we want to make sure that connecting to data is a really easy and joyful experience. And so what we've done is we've made all these improvements to the usability with which you connect to data sources. So this comprises a few different pieces. The idea, first of all, is that we want it to feel like a native experience when you connect with whatever data source you're working with. So if you're using pandas, we want it to feel like you're just connecting to data with pandas, same with SQL and same with Spark. We just saw a great demo from Ruben on connecting to data with S3, and it's like we've seen it uses these big blocks of config, but we wanted to make it easier so that you can actually just connect to data, build your data source configuration in an incremental way. So you get faster feedback, better errors, like immediately understanding what you're doing and not doing. And then we also wanted to make sure that this would work great in Python and be a first-class experience. If you want to work in a notebook, it's going to be great. If you want to work just directly in a script or a REPL, that'll work really well as well. And then it also makes working with multiple batches an easier experience and a more first-class experience, which will connect to other product features like data assistance and general profiling. And then finally, we also wanted to make the process of contributing new data sources a pleasure. And so not just using them, but contributing them as well is easier than it's been before. And then finally, these are compatible with current data sources. So there's no breaking changes here. It's just a new, easy way of connecting. But if you have old configuration using the V3 API, it's still possible to use that. And we're not going to be sending that away anytime soon. So I think that's all I have, and we're going to send it back to Ruben for another demo.
Thanks, Tal. Again, questions in chat or Slack. Ruben's up again.
All right. All right, folks. I guess you just saw me like 5 minutes ago, but just to restate, my name is Ruben Reduce, and I'm a developer advocate for Great Expectations. And then so I'm going to, be the demo in a real quick, the new way of configuring data sources. We're calling it the Fluent way of configuring data sources, right? Just to, which is a very, personal opinion, and obviously shared by the company, is a very exciting development, and we hope that the users will find it just as exciting, just as useful as we think it will be. First and foremost, right, we're gonna let's import the basic boilerplate stuff that we do with Great Expectations. And then this is the way normally, if I wanted to get a CSV file out of my file system, this is probably normally what I would use, like a configuration, and you would need to figure out the bits here and there, right? And then eventually load that data in or whatever. However, and this is the cool part, right? This is, by the way, an AI-generated image of Pip from Great Expectations looking at data. So then, this is the way that you do it nowadays with the new Fluent way of doing things. And that's it. That's it. You're ready to use that validator to start adding expectations to it, right? Like you can add 2 expectations that in this case, the pickup date's not to be null because we already know the shape of the data, like making that assumption there. But you could also look at the data yourself with something like validator.head, and then you will be able to see the first few rows, etc. Same with the congestion chart, etc. And that's it. Those are ready to run. And obviously now we need to make it a little, create a checkpoint with this, with the validator, the context that we're passing that's going to run. And so this is just going to go now and get the validation list and create the data docs for it. Boom. You can see that it just now almost immediately, we went from not having a data source to having data docs in about, I don't know, like, well, this is 1 line of code, really, 3, 4 lines of code, and you're already in business, right? Like, and what this enables though, is like a lot of things is just, as you're starting to experiment and getting, familiar with both good expectations of your data, right? Like this lets you like iterate really fast. Like it lets you like see your data and get immediate feedback on that data, run expectations on that data. And then, like as you start getting more fancy or more complex, as your use case grows, you can also grow with it as well. And then, if you need to add this as eventually, right, like formalize it into a regular configuration mode as we speak. And just to reemphasize something that Tal said is very important, this will not replace, like this is not meant to replace the current way that we do it or the standard way, right? Like this is just a new way of doing things just to get you all ramped up in great expectations, right? Like this, like we will, great expectations, the way that it works right now, at least the configuration ways, right? Like this will remain with the product. Like they're supposed to be like the Fluent way of creating things is just like, let's say, an ease of use type of enhancement, right? Like, and rather than being a replacement for it. So like you can continue to use the current system. If this is working for you, this is great. But if, we will really like you to give a try to the new default, to the new Fluent way of configuring data sources. And you can reach out to Tal or Susie, both of them in the community Slack, if you have any questions, suggestions, comments. We are in the feedback period of this release. We're very excited about this, and we will like. All right, so after I'm done here, right? Like, and then you say, well, Ruben, that's great. You just did a local file, big deal, right? Well, yes, but we can also, right, like look at this in S3, right? The same thing applies, right? Like if we were to do this, we do the basic imports into their workspace for Python. And this is normally how you would set, right? If you have an asset, assuming that you have their asset, you include it in the S3 data connector, you will have to define this ahead of time, etc. And once Python is done loading the imports, all right, now it is, then we're just going to create some very basic options with this is going to be just the bucket name and the arbitrary data source name that we want to give it. And this is it. Like this is these lines here. You accomplish with these lines and these variables basically what you would have had to do to configure a data sys before. And then furthermore, here now we need to create add a data source because you might have more than one or might be ambiguous. So in this case, we're going to create it with this is going to create a sort of like a batch request internally. And this is going to create an asset within that. So that way we can have something to validate. And now we're in business. We can go to town. Like we just basically can create, like an expectation suite, like we did with all the patterns. And then we can get a validator with that. And then so that way we can add the expectations to it. We can create a checkpoint with it and get the run it. And this is going to go ahead and create a checkpoint, run it, and then we're going to create it. And eventually, we're just going to open the data docs to it. And that's it. We just went from not having a S3 data source to having a validated with actual expectations in data docs, all in, I don't know, a matter of a couple of minutes. We are incredibly excited for this development, and we are hoping that our users will find it equally exciting to work with and really useful. And taking a lot of the overhead and the ability to show these things. Okay. If you have any questions, again, if you have any questions, concerns, comments, reach out to Tal, myself, or any GX for that matter, any GX employee in Slack, and we will be happy to answer any questions that you might have about the Fluent way of configuring data sources.
Awesome. Wow. Big change. It's good to see it out in the wild. Hopefully that saves everybody a lot of time and effort. Thanks again, Ruben. So I'm just going to share my screen really quickly before I let everybody go. Let's see here. Okay. All right. Thanks everyone for coming. I believe Tal, you had one more thing you wanted to share.
Yeah, I'm just echoing the request for feedback. Yeah, Ruben, that was awesome. So this is currently released. This is currently in the code base. We're slowly rolling out our docs, though I think our docs will be fully updated over the next couple of days. Please, we want to keep making improvements. We want to make sure that we're able to connect to data with whatever your data source is. So yeah, drop a note in the channel, drop a note in Slack. Feel free to tag me. Let us know how it goes. Yeah, thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Tal. It looks like Alexi had one question that we may want to address. Is it implemented for Parquet, JSON, etc.?
I think it is currently implemented for those for pandas, and I think we're working on the implementation for Spark now.
Cool. Awesome. All right. Thanks for the question, Alexi. All right, everybody. Thanks so much for coming. I'll see you all next month.
Later on.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.